How's everybody doing? You're here with me, young brother better preach, Harry. I'm here with my man One.
You already know what it is.
D.
You.
Sophony.
Hola.
We are beyond the walls.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is our debut episode, and we seek to be the voice of a generation of young believers who in some ways have been forgotten. All through this podcast, we seek to have conversation and share opinions on topics and issues that are not talked about within the walls of our tradition or our churches, and perhaps even share a little wisdom in certain situations. How's everybody doing?
I like
Man,
that.
we here,
Okay.
man. Yo, shout out to that intro.
Introduction.
Look at
I worked on it all night.
Harry came prepared today.
Practice
man.
makes perfect, baby.
that. You already know.
Absolutely.
Like I got professional.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. So we're here. We've got some familiar voices.
Yes, sir.
You know, how's everybody's weekend?
Fast, man.
Fast. A
Fast.
blur.
Busy.
Mine wasn't better than Sophony's, I promise.
Yeah, man.
Sophie just came back from Spain.
Yo,
That's why she
bougie.
said hola.
Bougie,
That's why I
right?
said, hola, buenos
She-
noches.
She's living that gentrified life. She going to Spain. She coming back running 5Ks.
Right?
Yo, she came back. She came back
And then-
running,
and then
like
my body reminded
literally.
me today of
Yeah.
you're Haitian.
No. Yep. No, don't do that.
You know what I mean?
Oh man, that is hilarious.
So- Our topic, we're going to dive right in.
Yeah.
Because our topic of discussion at hand is failed leadership. Failed leadership. And that's something we've been dealing with from childhood age. We just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was until we were of age where we were wise and we could see things in hindsight and know
Yup.
that, like, wow, like this right here was messed up. This was wrong. This here was, and so, we're going to share some experiences with y'all. We're going to talk about a few topics, of failed leadership. Some of them are heavy, some of them are light, but we hope you can benefit from the conversation. First thing I wanted to bring up, one of the things that I experienced was when I was a kid was we had a talented musician who used to go to our church, who was going to our church, and then our Haitian culture, after some time, it wasn't relevant to him. He left, and he was kind of living that life. He was living that street life, and our culture, they don't want anything to do with that American type of
Yeah.
style or that swag. They like if they see a do-rag or they see
Oh,
like sagging
Lord.
pants
You're
or
canceled.
Yeah.
You're
Where's your
disowned,
belt?
baby.
tucking your shirt in your pants,
Yeah.
all of
Word.
that. And so, he was living that life. And a few years later, he had come back. He had braids in his hair. He came into a service. My pops preached a message, and I guess it touched him. And he might have had some traumatic things happen to him, when he was living that life. And so he came that day, and he came forward, for prayer. And I didn't know it when I was a kid, but thinking about it now, it was just like so wrong. But he came up for prayer. And so people were praying for him, and you could see like he was sincere. But then like 3 like Haitian mothers came up, and like he had braids in his hair, he had earrings, he had a nose piercing. And as soon as he went up there, they started praying for him. 3 mothers came up, started unbraiding his hair,
Wow.
started taking off his earrings, taking off his, and like you could see him like he's like standing there in like shock. Like, and I'm a kid and I'm watching this, and it's like something like an alarm is going off in my head.
But you don't know what.
I don't know what that feeling is.
Yeah.
And like later on, I'm looking back and I was like, yo, that's so, like, it was so wrong in a sense, because like what the message that was sent to him was like, we only love you, or God only loves you if you look like this, or
Yeah.
if you look like the way we want you to
Yeah.
look,
That's deep.
Mhm.
And so after church, they made him find a barber and made him shave, like they shaved his head
That-
bald. He
And
had
I'm
his,
pretty sure when all of that was going on, you had people in the back going,
Yeah,
amping it up, yeah.
amping it up.
people are,
Yeah.
like
Speaking
hollering,
in tongues.
yeah, all of that,
But
hallelujah.
you at that moment is zoned
Me,
out looking at.
I'm looking
the
at
whole
this
situation,
situation,
yeah.
and I'm like, I'm looking and I don't understand. And I'm having feelings and I'm convicted, but it's for the wrong reason.
Right.
And so looking back at it, I was like, yo, this was, maybe, probably this was like God telling me something, because I have those same feelings now when I see stuff that goes wrong,
Yeah.
that's not right.
Yeah.
It was that same feeling,
Mhm.
And so like that, this, the spirit kind of like lets you know, it's like, hey, like this ain't. I know this looks okay
This
or
ain't
this
it.
looks right,
Mhm.
but this ain't it. This
It
is
ain't
not.
happening.
This is not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
So no one was reprimanded or
Of course.
oh
not.
no, it
Oh,
was
no.
celebrated.
it was celebrated.
Oh yeah.
And back then, you didn't question why people were doing certain
No,
things. You just
no.
went along with it because they said this
No.
is how you do it, and how
Yeah,
you're supposed
like,
to do it.
Mhm.
I've seen some things like we had people come up and preach a sermon on how wearing jewelry was just straight wrong.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the service, they had everyone wearing jewelry.
Mhm.
putting it up in front of them
They had them put it in a
on
basket.
the altar.
They made a golden calf with it or
I don't
something.
know
or-
what they
Right.
did.
In
I don't
the
know
Bible,
what
that's what they
I'm-
did,
right?
And they went. I don't know if y'all remember Cranston back where he was in that small storefront.
Yeah,
They went to like
Yo,
the
that
side,
was
the
a
back.
classic. That's a that
We
church.
they went out to the side. They buried it in the back. I don't know if somebody went and dug it up.
went to the pawn shop.
But like
I would've been-
nearly
Word.
every like they legit took a hammer and hammered like are you for real?
Wow.
And so again, I'm looking at this and I'm having this alarm go off in my mind like as a kid.
This isn't right.
This ain't right.
This ain't right.
This ain't right. And
Yo,
I'm only
man.
realizing that like later on in life when I'm like, yo, like
it's all coming back together.
it's almost
clicking.
like it's almost that effect like when you watching a movie or like a scary movie and there's a big twist where you thought one of the good guys is actually a bad guy. Like that was kind of like that type of revelation. It's like
Mhm.
you thought this was right. You thought this person
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
when
Yeah.
they got dirt too.
yeah.
They
It's
got dirt
major.
True. Yeah, that is
Major.
And I think that's the thing too.
Major
Even when
dirt.
I thought of failed leadership, I think as we get older and we gain a lot of new perspective, I think there was a time in my life that I was really angry at the church. I was really angry at the Christian community. Now being older and more mature, I think they just didn't know. And I
They
think
didn't.
even though people were doing their own dirt,
Mhm.
it was much easier and safer to be like saying, this is wrong, you can't do it
Right.
overall. You
Right.
know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
trying to protect everybody else and what they learned, what their mother said, and
Right.
really not what scripture says, but
Right.
just like what my pastor said. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to do it because my
Mm.
pastor said not to do it. And I didn't do it because their pastor said not to do it. And then
Yeah.
they didn't do it because their mama said not to do it.
They were doing what they knew.
They just was
Mm.
doing what they knew.
Yeah.
And that's,
Mm.
and now it, I know that now, but also too, I remember just being so angry at so
Yeah.
much because I'm just like, I was doing this, living by this law and
Yeah.
these rules for so
Yeah.
long
Yeah,
That
thinking
didn't
that
add
you
up.
were like
that
making
didn't add up
Nah, it didn't
for
make
no
sense.
reason.
Yeah.
Like you put me through so much emotional, physical,
yeah.
and
Stress.
psychological distress for no
distress.
reason. It was really
lack of knowledge.
that
Absolutely.
lack
What
of
does the word
knowledge.
say? People perish for the lack of knowledge. You feel
Absolutely.
me? That's what it is.
And
Yeah.
so for them,
You know?
they thought so. Part of it was thinking that they were doing something right too,
Right.
and then the other part is taking scripture out of context.
Absolutely.
Just-
Massively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting it into culture
Mhm.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
infusing
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. Bending
with the
bending
Oh my God.
bending what's not supposed to be bended.
Bending.
Yeah.
Like bending the
If there was a
scripture,
word more accurate than
like-
that.
Yeah.
Bending, twisting,
bending it, twisting it, manipulating it to fit their
manipulating.
Yeah.
Almost like they did in the slavery days, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yes.
with you,
Basically.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
basically
Yes, sir.
twisting and turning things to make it seem like they would make certain scriptures mean what they wanted it to
Yeah.
mean in the
Mhm.
in the worldview of where they came from.
and two, and I see this even now, projecting your own personal convictions on other people.
Oh.
Absolutely, you see
Yeah.
that too many times.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see
Yeah.
that too many times. You see, at one point I remember like even like pants.
Mm.
Like
Oh,
I remember
that-
I remember there would be
That's
church.
triggering for me. That's
There'd be
triggering
church-
for me.
listen.
I got PTSD.
Listen,
That's
listen.
still triggering for me.
Yo.
Like when people say that pants
Yo.
talk, I still get
Yo,
mad.
I didn't
You got
get it.
I still
shivers.
get mad. I get
didn't.
mad.
I didn't get it because we would have like there would literally be church member meetings,
Yeah.
like half hour
Yeah.
hours worth of time devoted to
telling
the
you.
fact
Man.
to people arguing like, yo, what is the issue with
Yeah.
pants?
The
Like,
beatings
why
that we got
Yeah.
for wearing
Yeah.
pants. Now I see my mom in pants. I be wanting to rip those things.
Take
Like, no,
them-
you're
take
not
them
going to wear
joints off
pants
right now.
for what you put us through. You
take them
them off.
privileges off
It
right
was
now.
like- it was funny. It's like the people that get caught. It's like criminal of the day. So it's like you'll
Yeah.
find some of these girls that would wear these pants or whatever.
Mhm.
You're like, yeah, did well.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
start interrogating, and
Yeah.
then next week it's another girl, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, like, come on,
Man,
And it's so, and I don't know. I don't know if we're going off topic now
We're never
with all
off
of this,
topic,
but
baby.
Yeah,
like
you already
it's
know
so
what it is, man.
crazy because they were so focused on the outward appearance
Mm,
that they allowed a lot of things
Mhm.
to fall through the cracks,
yeah.
like
Astronomically.
sexual abuse,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
domestic violence
That-
in
that's
the
a-
church.
Yes.
A bunch of things that was happening
That's
that
a
were
perfect-
real issues,
Yeah.
that were
Yeah.
real problems,
Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
slipped through the cracks.
it's a perfect segue
Mm.
because my next topic, and we're not going to use any names, but in the last few months there was a big bomb dropped in the Haitian community
Mm.
where a certain worship leader was arrested for some bad behavior with some young men.
Some bad behavior.
Yeah, and so you can look it up. You can figure that out. You've probably heard of it already.
Mm.
But like something like that, it stings. It's like what's the mindset of the people? What do you do when a leader fails? It's like
I know what the how the process goes, because sitting back looking
Mhm.
from the outside in,
yeah,
I'm not gonna call them weaker individuals, but
Mm-mm.
people that are not too rooted in the faith.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Where they look up to someone
right,
and that person fails, and they just feel just everyone fails, or
Right.
everyone failed them.
right,
No matter who has supported them through the way,
right.
or stuff like that, because that person had an impact more than Christ
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in their lives.
yeah. You got to be careful that you don't make a person
An idol.
the object or your
Mm.
idol, the
Mhm.
object of your faith. Like you have to know in your mind that, like, yeah, your leaders are human.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
all are, like, they're
Yeah.
human, and they deal with like some of the same issues that you deal with.
But you know where it starts,
You know what I'm
though,
saying?
when you're young.
Mhm.
When
Absolutely.
you're very young.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you don't really think in a very experienced or seasoned manner. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Yeah.
you're looking up to that person like they're your big bro, your big
Yeah.
sister. You know what I'm saying?
And many times you've seen, and so I remember saying this to not so much in our generation, but those who are a little bit older than us, those who are in their like early 40s, maybe mid 40s.
Mhm.
If you're a Haitian person and you're around the age of like 35 to 45 and you still go to a Haitian church,
Oh, God.
you're a walking miracle
Mhm.
Mhm.
because they
100%.
legit treated you
Don't
like
exist.
trash.
Yeah,
Complete
man.
trash.
They treated. I was telling that. I said that very same thing to someone yesterday. I was at
Mhm.
Elmwood and I said this to someone. I was like, look around and see how many people your age are still around,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it ain't no from your own childhood.
Right.
Yeah.
They ain't there.
Even
Because-
visiting. That's even a miracle
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
they were treated like trash,
Yeah.
and
And-
it was just bad. It was just real bad.
And it took a lot of people is just like, well, they don't go to church no more because they don't want to. They don't understand
Oh,
the
man.
psychological and
That couldn't
emotional
be further from the truth.
right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Effect that it had on
Yeah,
these individuals.
Well,
Yeah.
look at the story that he mentioned
Mhm.
when he was little.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like seeing somebody getting their hair unbraided. So
Yeah.
imagine when you have more sense of the situation.
right.
It hurts deeper. You're not
Mhm.
gonna come back.
So let
No.
me
You know
ask
what I mean?
this, right? What
Yeah.
pulls you away from the church then? Because we explained, we spoke about the situation
Uh-huh.
where the worship leader
Yeah.
did bad things with
Mhm.
young men.
Mhm.
So what stops people from going back to that situation? So now do I say, okay, I'm done with this church?
Yeah.
So if this guy goes on stage next Sunday,
Yeah.
still the worship leader, still doing this, still
I
doing
think
that.
that's where it gets people, is like when people don't take action, when
Mm.
there's inaction. It's
Right.
one thing
Yeah.
if it happens, because things happen.
Yeah.
Things
for
that we
sure.
don't want those type of things to happen, but they unfortunately they do.
Yeah.
But I think it's how they
Respond to
it's
it.
how they respond to it, because like in our culture, if somebody was wearing pants, they would announce that.
Mhm.
Or if
Yeah.
somebody got pregnant, they would
Mhm,
announce that.
mhm.
Or if you were doing something wrong superficially, like
Yeah.
you was wearing earrings or you was putting makeup on, they
Yeah.
announced that. But
Yeah.
then when it comes to a heavy issue like that, especially if it falls into the realm of criminal
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
behavior,
Man.
they don't say
Nothing.
nothing.
That's the
And they
inside of
throw
the
it
cup
under
and
the
the
rug.
You don't-
outside of the cup.
Right.
You
Like
don't
Mm.
say nothing. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
that's exactly
And I
it.
think that is what
It ruins people's respect for the whole establishment.
right.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
affected them too, because
Absolutely.
these are people who have been victims of these situations,
Yeah.
and nobody spoke on their behalf.
Nope.
And you were more focused on their outward appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then again, which is why I think something like that can happen. I think
Yeah.
we've been doing this for so long where we're so just focused on what we can bring, what we do.
Right.
And as
Yeah.
long as we're doing what we need to do in the
Yep.
church, we're singing loud enough, we're saying amen in the right spot.
Performance-based Christianity.
Yeah.
Exactly. If we're performing well,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter what we're
What's
doing
going on
on the
underneath.
side,
No.
what's going on underneath. As long as I got, don't wear hair? I'm not gonna wear hair. I'm gonna tie my hair every Sunday. I'm not gonna wear the big
You're
earrings.
gonna put the mouchoir
Right, I'm
on,
gonna put the mouchoir on, the little mouchoir on top of my
the
head.
little doily.
But then
yeah.
as long as I'm doing what I need to do outside of that,
Yeah. Yeah. It literally puts you in that mind frame. It's like, yeah, all I have to do is just look the part
yeah.
and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Man, 100%. I remember just sitting in church. This is like back in Cali or whatever. Just sitting in church, Bible study and church days, just thinking, all right, so what time I gotta go pick him up at this time because we going to this club. I'm looking
Yeah.
the part. I'm looking okay.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, brother Paul? You know what I mean? Everything all good, but same exact
You gonna
thing.
do your,
Yeah.
It's
you
that
gonna do your
outward
old thing.
appearance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
No one's checking on no one cares about what's going
And
on
I-
on the
No, they
inside. I
don't.
And I
feel
think
like
exactly. And
Yeah.
I think, and I'm not saying that this is what happened with this particular person
Right.
with the praise and worship leader, but I think because we've seen that so much, we
Mhm.
think that we can get away with certain things
Yep,
too.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
To where we're just like, well, if I just look the part, I mean, everybody's still coming to see me worship.
But-
Right.
Everybody's still coming doing that. They ain't gonna be focused on what I'm doing
Yeah.
on
That-
the low in the dark.
Yeah,
Nobody,
that's
so
the
I'm gonna
trap.
do. So it's
Because
on
at the
both
end
ends.
at the end of a concert or at the end of a service, when people come up to you and say, like, yo, that really blessed me, like, you're really anointed, all of that guilt you felt, it's like, oh, okay, this means I'm
Doing
accepted, I'm
God's
validated.
work,
God,
yeah.
like God, like
God's
like,
still looking out for us.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I kind of the illustration I like to give is I'll call it like it's like almost like a fossil Christianity. Like what's like a fossil is like a piece of stone that has a dead plant or a dead animal that's died on it, and it I don't know whether it's underground or something like that. That pressure that's pressed on that stone for millions or thousands of years leaves an imprint on the stone. And so like it's the same way. Like we've grown up in such a high pressurized culture.
Mm.
You have an image
Yeah.
of
Yeah. You really do.
of a person of faith when it ain't really in you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's talk about that image thing real quick with something that's going on currently, right?
Yeah.
How does everybody feel about the Kanye West thing?
Mr. Kanye West.
For me
Oh, boy.
personally, it's
I have mixed feelings about it.
So-
I mean, I
so-
just really don't know.
A little context. So he's been open recently about the fact that he's been dealing with
Mental health issues.
mental
Mhm.
health issues.
Yeah.
And so I think we've all had experience with certain levels of mental health issues
Mhm.
within our
for sure.
churches or our families and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so he's got bipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And so bipolar disorder, you have manic highs
Mm-hmm.
and you have terrible lows.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
so I've dealt with this personally. I've had a friend who died, and he wasn't diagnosed, but because of the things the traits that I've seen in him,
yeah.
I don't think he had been diagnosed yet because he didn't see a therapist. He never saw a doctor.
Yeah.
But I think he was dealing with that because there would be seasons in his life where he would be like on 100 for Jesus.
Yeah.
And then after a while, he would fall off, and then he was doing his own thing. He was, hanging with people that weren't
Yeah.
part of like the faith. He was hanging with people that
looking out
had
for him.
destructive
Yeah.
ways. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was really into music, and he would do the studio thing, and that's not really where the trouble came. It was like he was getting into like violent situations, like he was carrying weapons on him. He was,
Mhm.
he was doing dirt, and maybe he felt like he needed to be protected because of the people that he was around. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, he passed away, and because of the situation, it really made me think like, wow, like he was dealing with an issue and no
Yeah.
one saw it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and that could have
Yeah.
been addressed.
Yeah.
You know, that could have been handled. a little
Failed
better.
leadership.
Yeah.
if
But
we,
that's
if we could
tough,
see
though.
that better.
It is.
It's because how a closed mouth don't get fed. You
Absolutely.
know what I
Very
mean?
true. But we're prone
we
to
can see
keeping. We've been taught to keep our
we can
mouths
see the
shut
signs now.
during very bad times.
And so I
Mhm.
because us
Mhm.
growing up in church, there are certain things that we knew people were going through,
Yeah.
and they refused the help
Yeah.
or the care or
Yeah.
even just a conversation
Yeah.
to get you know, just to get better or
Very
anything
true.
like that. But they were taught I have to look good outside
Yeah.
for me to be better inside. When
Yeah.
that's never the case. You feel what I'm saying? So
And so with the situation with Kanye, I would say I'm not gonna draw a conclusion yet. So I'm just gonna see where the fruits grow.
Right.
You know what I'm
very
saying?
true,
And
very
so
true.
I'm kind of worried about him because if this is a manic high that he's on, at some point it's gonna fall off, and
Yeah.
he's gonna you're gonna drop down low
Other
into
side
a
of that roller
very
So many
coaster.
people that's
depressive
following.
state,
Yeah.
and you may do worse than you did before. You know,
Right.
just
Yeah.
it's a really difficult
And I
disease
feel-
to deal with.
And I think too, because I sorry, just touching stuff. Well, it's about to knock me out. I was touching everything, but again, we can't say who are we to say who's actually saved or who actually
Right.
gave.
Yeah.
We don't really have the room for that. And
Yeah.
two, I think another thing is a lot of people saying, well, he was just singing secular music and being this, and he was Yeezy and all this stuff, like
Yandi and all
you
that.
know, all that other stuff, and then now he's just serving Jesus. Like I mean, look at Paul. You know what I mean? Look
Yeah.
at Paul. Look at
Yeah.
Zacchaeus. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
They were killing people.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Real
And so,
deal.
Yeah.
so
Killing. Like,
Yeah.
real deal. You know what I mean? And so I believe that anybody could be saved. I think the
Anybody
thing
can be
with,
redeemed.
and like you were saying, it's tough because he does have bipolar.
Yeah.
He
He has bipolar
he
disorder.
he has a bipolar disorder, and I know somebody who has that, and it's
Yeah.
the same thing, two extremes. One minute they're
Yeah.
like on like
On fire.
you're gonna go to hell, blah blah blah, blah, Jesus this and blah, like
yeah.
all for Jesus, and the next minute it's literally like
yeah.
I'm gonna live my life,
I-
I'm gonna do what I need to do. Like it's two extremes.
Yeah.
I think with Kanye, because he's such a good such a huge icon,
Yeah.
and it,
Yeah.
He is.
I feel like because it's such two extreme, like one minute you were thinking you
Mhm.
were a god, and now like you get sick.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think he
yeah,
should just be leading a church.
Yeah.
That's where
that's
I'm just. I
that's
think
where the
like
danger
there
comes in.
needs to
But
be
he's
baby
trying
steps.
to.
Absolutely. I really don't know. But the thing is,
Isn't
like,
that the Sunday?
He's been going to like different renowned churches, and the pastors have been
Let
inviting
him
him
up.
to be like, "Yo, I need
But
you to
he's-
lead worship
he's
for me
leading it.
at
That
my
doesn't make
church."
him a
You know what I
pastor, though.
mean? It
Well,
makes
yeah,
him a
I don't know.
No,
leader.
I didn't say teacher. I
He's
said
still a
leading.
leader
With
at
her.
the
still in the
end of the day.
leadership
Yeah,
position.
yeah.
People are looking to him, but I think the dangerous thing is like he's just been converted, and you would hope. I'm not saying he doesn't, but you hope he has proper mentorship.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what
I've
I
seen,
hope.
I've seen a few interviews of the person who's been talking to him. I think he's a pastor out in the Bay Area.
Mhm.
And so he's been talking to him. He's been talking to him about what it means to be saved. Because when Kanye came to him and said he was saved, the pastor was like, "Well, what does that mean? What does that mean to you?" And so they went through scripture. He was like, "Yeah, man, I'm all of that. Like I'm in."
I mean, anybody
know,
could say
anybody
that.
could say that,
Anyone
but-
could say all of that for
And
me.
so-
You know what I mean? And I feel like I don't
That's
know.
like when the
And
teacher used to be
reason
like,
why
"Yo,
I
did you
feel like
read
they-
that
they-
chapter?"
They need to be really, really careful with all of that.
Yeah.
It's because like I think too, even watching,
Mhm.
I'm like, Kanye kind of knows what he's doing, because he's just like, he knows what to say in the black churches. And then when he was like in, I think it was like Oklahoma.
He's using the right
Yeah.
lingo.
It was different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
knows
Oh,
what
yeah.
to say where. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if I feel about all of this. Like, I feel like
Yeah,
there's still
absolutely.
that, and like I said, when he was, I forget where he was at. He was kind of parting the Red Sea for people to make way for him.
I think
Yeah,
that was
that's a little
So,
narcissistic
yeah,
right
so
there.
there's still that
That's
narcissism
Chicago.
there. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm feeling it out. I don't want to be like,
Yeah.
it ain't real and all that stuff, but I don't know.
I mean,
I
I
don't
one,
know.
remember
one thing for certain though, real quick,
Yeah.
the music's dope. I can't lie.
the music is
music is dope.
fire.
It's fire. I can't
The
lie.
music, I'm like, yo, it's kind of. I mean,
It-
that's another. That's another.
it
That's
makes-
another
that's
topic.
another topic.
Yeah,
It makes me bop my head, but
right.
I'm gonna be
No,
honest.
it's more than bop your head, bro.
It makes
the
me-
way they things together.
It's
Yeah.
for me personally, it makes me
Even
bop
with
my
the
head. It
singing.
makes I can move with this, but does it take me into a place of worship? Not really.
Does it feel like a performance for you?
Yeah. It doesn't, but it's dope.
Yeah, it
I
does
can't
feel
even
like
lie.
Yeah. It feels like
It
it's just
can't-
like a concert.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
not
dope.
not with the exception of
But that's-
Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Music.
Justin Bieber is actually worshiping.
Yeah.
See, I get a different feel for Justin. And guess what?
Yes.
You see the difference between him and Justin?
Yes.
Justin had mentorship.
Yeah.
It took baby
Real deal
steps.
pastors.
Real deal.
Living with pastors.
Yes.
You know what
and
I
it
mean?
took
So,
you know,
it took a
Justin was
while.
like, it took a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. So-
You know, it took baby steps. So I think, yes, I believe that there's room for that, obviously.
Yeah.
But you
Mm.
can't tell me yesterday you were saying you were a god,
Yeah.
and then today you want to lead a whole nation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there
But I
you need to
feel
be careful.
Yeah.
See, with those, yeah, you know what? The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree.
The lesson in that is understand that don't be so quick to try and put yourself out there,
Mm.
because
I
don't be so quick to try to put yourself out there. This is
Yeah.
just a principle or a universal for anyone who's listening, is that
True.
don't try to get yourself out there. Like if you have a goal or a dream or a talent, don't try to get yourself out there so quickly, because God may be trying to work on some things to fix.
Yes.
Because if he fix it in private,
yeah.
you won't fall in public, and
Right.
you won't be like, crucified by
Right.
the media.
There's
or
a difference between the lab and the stage.
Absolutely.
Yes.
When you
So-
cook up in the lab, no one's there with you.
Right.
Right.
Work, improve
way it
yourself,
is.
work
Right.
on it. Don't be
Yeah.
so hard about trying to get out there and be this big
Yeah.
light in front of people.
Right.
But
My guy from Baltimore say slow motion, but in motion.
Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
That's
the
good.
bottom
Yes,
line.
I
sir.
saw a video of him kind of just going off on Kim about her being too sexy now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
No, his wife.
Oh, my
His
bad.
wife.
Okay.
I
Her
thought,
too.
little, I thought little Kim too. Once he said Kim, and I was
He
like, oh
said
yeah,
Kim.
he is married to Kim
He-
Kardashian.
So he was like, kind of just like, you're dressing too sexy, and she was just like, just because you have found this new journey and all this other stuff doesn't mean that I'm like, and you're giving me a lot of anxiety
Yeah.
and all this other stuff. So now there's that
He's like imposing that on
confliction,
her.
right? But
Absolutely.
what was
I think he's
crazy is
Haitian.
that
He might be
no, well, she was saying, well, with my career, I'm where I'm at
Yup,
because of
very
you.
true.
Like you pushed me to embrace my sexuality and
Yeah.
who I am and all this other stuff.
Yup.
And now because you found your new journey, you want me
Yeah.
to take that away.
Yeah.
Well, then somebody reposted it and said, oh, for all of you that thinking that Kanye is fake, why would he bring so much conviction on his
Wife.
That's
his
not
wife
conviction.
and blah blah? And I'm like,
That's not
no,
conviction.
that's
Not real.
him. Like, man, I have an image now. I gotta keep.
gotta
You
keep.
gotta be
Yeah.
right along with me.
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes
Because
so
you know
much
why?
sense.
Now, Megan Good hasn't changed that much
Whoa.
with her dressing.
Hey.
With
And her
That's
husband
another
supports her.
And her
Yeah.
husband supports it.
Yeah.
He
Um,
supports
He
her.
put somebody in place.
He
You
will
saw
put
that
somebody
video?
saw
in
that.
check.
You saw
He
that
checked
video.
her.
Right.
Yeah, he
Which
checked her.
for me,
Yeah.
I believe there is supposed to be some type of change
Mhm.
within a person. Doesn't necessarily have to be clothes or whatever.
No.
You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
could be
No.
internal, because I feel in certain interviews,
Mhm.
she the way she explained her being received by people in church
Yeah, she said
It's
she don't
pretty
really
bad.
go.
is pretty
She
bad.
don't really
Yeah.
go.
She said she can't go.
Nah, she
because
can't go.
people, that's fair leadership.
Yeah.
That's fair leadership. If you
Yeah.
ask me, if someone is not able to go to church,
hmm
you know what I mean, because of your thoughts and you're opposing your will on them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the way, that's not church.
You got to say
It's
something.
It's a
not.
cult.
You have to. Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
cult.
Yeah, you have to say something.
And there's not enough people standing up for that neither.
Right.
You see, just like how you said,
Mhm.
with your story, somebody's getting their hair unbraided in the front.
Mhm.
No one's saying,
Like,
yo,
whoa,
yo,
whoa,
yo.
whoa, whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
There's
right.
no conflict when there should be.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
There should be, or something after church, like, yo, brother, sister, or whatever, come talking it back.
You know how
down.
many
what I mean?
you said something like there's not a lot of people, like you're definitely right. There's not a lot of people that are willing to, I'm not even gonna say oppose, but even just to ask the question, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember being at a church and I had a question for everything. You know,
Which
the
is
raise your
good.
hands thing and surrender to God. I'm like, hold on, I don't even really understand that. So why am I raising? What is that doing for me and how is that helping him?
Hmm.
So asking those type of questions,
Right.
oh, you're just a little too logical there. You know what
yeah.
I mean? So all
Just
right,
follow the
just say
script,
you
Paul.
don't know
You're
what.
not
Just
follow
offended
the
for
script,
that.
Paul.
Questions
or you
like
just gotta
that.
let me
You
know is I
really
don't
wish
know where to
was
find
more
it.
of that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That child that asked a lot of questions.
The bad slave.
The bad slave.
Throw them in the hot
Yes.
box.
You know what I
It's
mean?
always
Because
challenging.
I'm telling you, I'm like,
But it's not challenging if you're learning. Because what did Christ say? If you wanna, what did he say again in scripture?
Don't
you-
drink and drive.
No, not don't drink and drive,
All right.
fool. He said if you want to know the
started to
things,
go like,
did he say
no,
if you want to know the things of heaven, you have to be like a child.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Isn't that what he said?
Similar, definitely.
To enter
So-
the kingdom of
Yup.
heaven, you gotta be
Yup.
like a
You
child.
have to be like a child. So child or children ask questions
lot of questions.
100%.
Why?
all the time.
Oh my
don't do that.
goodness.
Why?
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 That's
Why?
not being defiant. That's actually trying
No, you
to
want it
know.
to
And
know.
that's part of failed
Exactly.
leadership too, because and that's the thing too. I think as children we were taught you don't ask questions. You don't let kids
No.
ask and be themselves. You know
Nope.
what I mean? You
Yeah.
kind of molded and shaped them to act, to talk, to present. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I love my dad,
Yeah.
but we had to sit down in church with our hands up like this. This is how we had to sit down in the church. And you had to
Yeah.
look. And Sundays I was dressed a certain
Yeah.
way up until I was in my 30s,
Yeah.
and I was still.
Long dresses,
puffy
Let me do
barrettes,
my
dresses. No,
hair
not
a
the long
certain
dresses. The
way.
barrettes in
puffy-
the hair.
Yes,
Right.
the
Let me do my
go-gos.
certain way
The
because
With the
that's
lace-
how my
with the
dad
lace socks.
likes it.
Yeah.
Because that's how my dad likes it, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna act like this. And I said I said yes to a lot of things, and I did,
Yup.
and all of that. It just
It just
eventually
got more and more heavy on you.
It got more and more
Yeah.
heavy on you. So
Yeah.
it's in that too when you're. And I think we're specifically speaking of church leadership, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in church leadership, we really didn't allow the members of the church, the youth, the congregation to have or give room to
Be individuals.
be individuals
Yeah.
or to oppose, really. Just
Yeah.
to be like, I
Challenge.
or to challenge you. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? You try to challenge anybody, the whole thing got shut
That's
down.
it.
It's just like what?
Now, if you think about it, like just getting into a deeper
Mhm.
realm of things, not really like being a minister or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because Paul said in scripture, it says,
Yeah.
if I want to reach out to the Jews, I gotta dress like them.
Yeah.
Gotta be
Mhm,
like 'em.
mhm.
Gotta
Yeah.
become
Gotta
all
talk like
things to
them.
all people and all of that.
If I want to,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for us growing up, that wasn't the case. We're just following order,
Yep.
Yeah.
not really impacting or affecting change with anything
Not
at
at
the
all.
point, you know. But I think now it's a tussle for people that have gone through those situations
Yeah.
to kind of conform.
Yeah.
To try to reach. I'm like, yeah, I'm not conforming to them to, you know what I mean, to reach out to them because
Mhm.
they're just trying to, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
trying to get me back to where I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's tough for people that has
No,
grown
it
up
is.
out of that.
Definitely.
Especially if
You know what I mean?
you grew up to that mandated person. Okay, they said yes, that's how it goes, that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And then you come dependent on those leaders to
Mhm.
tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
And even now, I think even now, a lot of people are trying to figure out they're really caught up in religion instead of relationship.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
But I think they're trying to figure out their walk, and nobody's saying, well, I'm not doing this because I don't like it. It's more so I don't do this because my mom or my pastor said that I
Right.
wasn't supposed to do it, not because they've read the scripture themselves
Right.
and found out for themselves that
Yeah.
this is not
Yeah.
what God has taught us, or
Right.
what the Bible says.
Right.
And so but we've become used, we were taught that.
Yeah.
So we just go to church and we look for other people to tell us
Right.
yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
look for that validation.
Mhm.
It's crazy because I kind of spoke on that subject when I gave a sermon at Elmwood, and I spoke of the story of the woman with the issue of blood
Mm.
and how she had been bleeding for 12 years,
Yeah.
and she was chasing a crowd where Jesus was so she could touch him so she could be healed.
Yeah.
But Jesus was on his way to go heal this young girl
Mhm.
Yeah.
at Jairus's house, he was a synagogue leader, he was a pastor.
Mhm.
So the pastor's kid was near death.
Mhm.
And so these two stories are connected. They have
Yeah.
to be because this young girl's 12 years old
Yeah.
Yeah.
and this lady's been bleeding for 12 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I kind of try to relate to them is that, this older generation represents, or this bleeding woman represents our older generation.
Yep,
You're
very true.
bleeding
Yep.
on the young people. And this girl couldn't be raised from the dead until he healed this woman,
Mhm.
Yeah.
healed her leaking issue.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I really wanted to drive home. It's like, if you want to see your kids grounded in the faith, y'all are gonna have to fix your own issues
Mhm.
Mm.
first You know what I'm saying? Because it'll never
It ain't
come to
gonna be
fruition.
right.
It ain't gonna
It's
be
just
right.
not gonna be
You
right.
can't remain the same and think that they're gonna come back.
Not at all.
There's
You
a
know?
lot of parents that I've heard in countless times say, "I done my job. I brought them to church."
They think I bring you to school, I give you food to eat,
Yeah,
I give you a home to live in,
yeah.
and that's it.
Where's the relationship?
Where's
part of
the
it?
love?
Where's the
yeah,
relationship?
You know?
And even when
Yeah.
we're talking about failed leadership,
Mhm.
I was thinking, well, because so many people, youth, and so many people even our age,
Yeah.
have left the church and is out there, have left their faith.
Mhm.
Has that brought some kind of awareness, or has it brought some kind of conviction amongst our the older generation to be like, oh, maybe we did something wrong?
I think so, because I would say, because I had proof, because I had two parents. I had a father come to me, and then another mom who came to me, and they told me, when I get home, I'm gonna apologize to my kids for some of the things that I did, because now I see that
See, that's powerful.
some
But not
some of the
everybody.
Actions are louder than words.
That's exactly.
Yeah,
Let's see
right.
if
you
that's
you
That's
can
the
it right
apologize,
there.
but I hope it brings about a real change.
Because that's like
Yes.
a
'Cause that's
lot
what-
of people. It's it's about being convicted and acting towards that conviction.
Yeah.
If you cheat on your wife, like, dang, I feel bad about it. You're probably not gonna tell her like, yo, I was out here acting up.
Mhm.
We went to Whole Foods, got a smoothie. That pizza was banging, by the way. Bought you a slice, but no, who's gonna really do
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah.
You're probably gonna, even the parents, like not even the parents, right? The older generation. I was having a conversation with my mom today about something about my uncle and his kids, right? And at the end of the story, she's like, well, they need to understand that they're in America because of him. I said, that's understandable, but everything that he could have possibly put them through growing up and how they
Yeah.
view him then,
Very true.
if there's no apology to, hey, listen,
Very
I do
true.
apologize for that. No matter what you do, that's still
Yeah.
going to be in your mind.
Yeah.
So
they don't
when you
apologize.
look at
Haitians
that
don't
person, that's
apologize.
what
Don't
you're
Don't
gonna
apologize.
You know what they say?
Crazy.
You hungry?
Yeah, you hungry? Or, I want to eat.
You want to eat?
Kunen babo. They don't apologize. And
Word.
so
Or it's
I
like,
thought that
that
that was big. I hope they, though that
Well,
that
at least
mom
they
and that
took
other
the step to
dad.
That
come
is
to you
true.
and said
But
that's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I mean?
that isolated situation. But I'm
yeah.
speaking like
like
in
in a
general.
grand,
in
yeah,
this- yeah.
Word.
absolutely.
In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's been
We're good.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just
do you feel like there's been,
Mhm.
A moment where they're just like, man, we messed up.
I think so, because this particular mother who came to me, she's like,
This is the same isolated situation.
yes, I would hope. It gives me hope. I'm holding on to
You're
that.
waiting for the domino effect.
I think
huh?
I think in the grand schemes, when she sees that, okay, my two kids they're not connected to this church, or they're not even connected to the faith. And wait a minute, all these other kids ain't either. And so you would hope that the logic would hit them and say, like maybe we did something, maybe there was something we missed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
And
mean,
so-
the being accountable for your actions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is a deep message, but you have to go to the people that you hang around the most.
Yeah.
To kind of let them know that what God has changed within you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that,
Mhm.
you already anything that God has put you through or put us through,
Yeah.
it's never just for us.
Mhm.
Just know that.
It's to help
Yeah.
someone else
It's
too.
to help someone
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
out. It's always like that. It's always been
Most-
like that.
Yeah,
You
your
know what I mean?
story can definitely lift somebody else up out of a
Exactly.
hole that
So,
they're dealing with.
A lot of these things that the elders have gone through, they haven't gone back to their friends and let them know, like, yo, I don't know about y'all, but I've been doing some things wrong.
Right.
And I don't, this is what God convicted me on, and I hope this helps you out, but I think we should do things differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that conversation doesn't happen because it's too much pride involved.
It's too much pride in
Damn
there.
keyword.
Yeah.
That is
Pride.
it. That's
There's so
That's
much
100%
pride
it.
involved.
Yeah.
with what Sophanie said,
Mhm.
collectively, I agree with her. I don't think collectively they would all come to the general consensus that
Yeah.
we did something wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, guys,
It will
you've
never
been
happen.
You'll say below
If
50,
it- if
below
it-
50%.
Yeah, if
And
it does,
if it
that's
did happen,
that's a straight
miracle.
miracle.
Below
Right,
50.
right. And then if it did happen,
Uh-huh.
how did they
Around
undo
there,
what's already
yeah.
been done?
Yeah.
You can't
You-
go
right.
to the past.
Which
you can't.
I'm grateful now for people like, Wesley and Shebna, who's starting that Bible study and kind of getting
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
people that are just
Yeah,
out there
facts,
and
yeah.
trying to bring them back.
Right.
And we need more of that
Most definitely.
to kind of help
Yeah.
bring
yeah.
that healing
With the
and
community.
restoration into people's lives,
Yeah.
because a lot of that damage has been done.
Is-
And again, you said it collectively,
Yeah.
probably not gonna happen.
Nope.
Because there's the pride.
Nope.
There's the I did what I was supposed.
That's what
I
I'm
was
saying.
doing
If
was
you have
right.
a parent that says, guys, we kind of done wrong. Somebody's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did what I did.
I
Yeah.
did what I
You know,
did.
I
Yeah.
did what I did. Like I worked.
I
I think like that. doesn't
People don't
mean
like
anything.
being the
Yeah.
thing about the truth, man. I remember just kind of tying this into a work experience. Somebody was asking me a question about, yo, this customer said this and they said that. What do you want me to tell them? I said, tell them the truth. This is what they did and this is why I received it. What do you mean? I said, it's gonna hurt,
Yeah.
but it's the truth. It's not like
Yeah.
you're doing anything wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
People don't like to hear.
That's
People
true.
don't like to get called out.
That's
No.
It
true.
hurts,
No.
but it's
That's
it
true.
definitely
Yeah.
is good for
They
you.
love dishing it out though.
They
Mm.
love
do.
dishing it
Man,
out.
they do.
Their version of the truth.
Yeah,
They
so,
do.
like one of my biggest things is the fact that, one, you're so vocal about superficial things, but you go
Yeah.
dead silent
Yeah.
on important issues. Like, for example, like when you take the story of David, how he slept with Bathsheba,
Mhm.
and because of this, God told him, he's like, yo, the sword's never leaving your house. Like, you're always gonna have trouble at
Mhm.
home
Yeah.
because you did this.
Mhm.
And so what happens?
Created a whole
Created a whole mess. His son
avalanche.
abused, raped
Mhm.
his half sister.
Mhm.
And so because David did nothing, like
Mhm.
Dave didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The other brother
Took it upon himself.
took it up. Tamar's brother
Yep.
Mhm.
took it upon himself and killed.
Yeah. Yup.
And so
Yep.
then a war started
Yeah.
and almost split the kingdom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Soap opera.
He
man.
went-
It's crazy.
Soap opera.
he went to battle with his own dad,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
his the son,
Yep,
his
yep,
dad
yep.
is more powerful than him.
Yep.
His son ended up dead. So your kids ended up scarred, bruised,
Yep.
broken
Yeah.
because you ain't saying
Because you
nothing.
didn't say nothing.
All you had to do was say something.
Say
Yeah.
something.
Yo, that
Say
could
something.
like if you say something, you could save.
Yeah.
Like if you
You
open your
could
mouth,
have
Yeah.
saved.
if you would have like got up in front of people and laid it out and said like this happened and
Mhm.
this is and like this was wrong,
wrong.
like straight up wrong. Like
Yeah.
people
and you know
go
it's
off your-
wrong.
yeah.
They know it's wrong. They
They
talk
know.
about it. You hear
Yeah.
them at home talking about that was
Yeah.
wrong. But then they go to church, they're smiling with the same person, shaking their hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we
Yeah.
don't talk about, we don't do
Yeah.
that, we
Yeah.
don't do it.
But my-
Meanwhile, your kids are scarred.
Yeah.
killing
My
them.
thing
and
is,
bruised. And
Listen
then
to
it's
you
like,
on the phone at home
and
talking
then-
about
and-
blah,
and then
blah,
when you're
blah.
looking-
yeah.
And what makes me so sad is that they've made these decisions where they didn't say anything, they
Yeah.
didn't stand up,
Yeah.
they did not defend.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And now those same people are looking at these very bruised, very broken, very hurt
Mhm.
individuals and like,
Look at them.
Look at them.
Waste.
Yeah.
vagabond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
Never gonna
shaved the
be
side of
any
her
sh-
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're ashamed to our community.
She's wearing ripped jeans.
Word.
What's wrong with her?
And that's what it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so sad because now you have and
Yeah.
those individuals, you think they're ever gonna try to
No
come
way.
close
But
to anything?
See,
No
with
way.
the
when
whole
it comes
process,
to Christianity
with-
or any of that, no,
with the
they're
whole-
thinking I'm not good
I'm
enough.
done.
no,
Word,
yeah,
word,
but I mean,
word,
with the whole
100%.
process, if you look at it, like even when they apologize, they don't even know why they're apologizing.
No, it's not sincere.
It's not sincere because the only way you could bring true healing and revelation to somebody at the same time is if you tell them why you did what you
Yeah.
did and why you didn't understand what you did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of, oh, I'm sorry, but why did you do what you did?
Mhm.
Mhm.
There's no I'm sorry and then like get over it. No,
Yeah.
I need to know why
We
you
gotta
did
talk
Right.
about that.
it. We gotta
100%,
talk
so
like,
it doesn't
in
happen
detail.
again.
Like
Right.
with the pants situation, like when I sit there and I talk to certain parents about that stuff, I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, you made your girls suffer off of that stuff.
Mhm.
Why?
Don't make
Give
no
me the
sense.
answer.
There's
Yeah.
nothing. Have you
What I
ever asked your parents why is it considered disrespectful to whistle in front of
Well, I was
grown
just about to
ups.
say with
I have no idea.
Where it comes from.
I used to always get reprimanded about
All
that.
Bro,
the
I asked
time.
my
But if you
grandma.
ask-
She didn't
if
have.
you-
This is my grandma, like
Yeah.
100
If you
something
ask
years old, didn't have an answer for it.
respectfully, it'll be like, oh, don't question adults.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
There's no answer for it.
Yeah.
What's the origin?
That's funny that it's just saying that. I just I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's a story about that, about this lady. It was like Thanksgiving or some kind of dinner feast that they were doing, and she watched her mom make the dish in this
Yes.
pot.
Yes.
And so then she said to the mom, "Why'd you put in that?" She was like, "Oh, because that's what your grandma always
So
did."
she took. It was like a roasted like rump roast of a pig or something like that,
Mhm.
and she always cut a quarter of it off and then put it in a pan, and put it in the oven.
hmm
And then she was like, "Well, why do you do that?" She was like, "Oh, I don't know. I always saw my mom do it."
Yeah,
And then so
the
she's like,
granddaughter
"Well,"
went and asked the.
she went and asked the grandma's like, "Well, grandma, why did you always cut a quarter end off of the thing?" She was like, "Well, yes, I did that."
Well, no, she was like, "When I don't know, because my mother."
Yes, my mother did that. And
Uh-huh.
so they went down the line and she called her and then asked her, it's like, she was like, "Grandma or great grandma, why do y'all cut the quarter end off the roast and then put it in the pan?" She was like, "Yeah, we did that, but we only did that because I didn't have a pan big enough
We
to
didn't have
hold
a pan
it.
big enough to hold it. Yeah.
And so we put it in this
That's
smaller pan
deep.
and cut.
Yeah,
That's
And so
deep. Yeah.
everyone else did the same
The
thing.
same
Wow,
When
thing.
you
for nothing.
When you could have been eating the whole thing.
Yeah,
you
you had the
missed out on
capacity-
Do an
that.
extra for
Exactly.
no
you
reason.
have the
Gotta ask
capacity
questions.
for
Understand
it.
why?
Yeah.
Jesus, what a word.
What a word,
What a
right?
word, man.
Mhm.
That's
And-
crazy.
Yeah,
Things
so
get
it brings-
passed down.
Exactly. It's
Way
just
actions,
passed
ways,
down.
habits get
Yeah.
passed down.
Get
Yeah.
passed down.
You know, and
And
you
the
know,
things
if
that we're
what she
missing
did
out
ask,
on.
if she did not ask,
Yeah.
the scary thing is,
And here's the thing. The
Yeah.
good thing is that she asked and she was given an answer.
yes,
And because she's been given
Yeah.
an answer, that changed the whole
100%.
narrative for her.
Yes.
Generations
The
to follow.
generations to come. Now
Yeah.
they're gonna eat fully.
Yeah.
They're gonna eat the whole thing now.
Ex-
They're
exactly.
gonna eat
Buy a
half. They're
bigger
gonna,
pan,
they're
baby.
gonna have the full experience now. They
exactly.
get the full experience now. And that's what I mean by failed leadership, because what if there was like, oh,
You turn
be
that
quiet,
into
wait,
a
listen,
Like, what you
listen,
asking
listen,
questions?
because that's how you're supposed to do
Yeah,
it. It would have
yeah.
stopped there and
It would have
could've
continued.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna bring up, is the fact that a lot of us, we talk about some of the things that we hated that they did, but we have to come to the realization with ourselves that some of these ways are in us
yeah, for
because
sure.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't give what you don't have. So if you were only given a certain thing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you only know how to act that out.
Yeah.
So you have to come out of that. You know,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that we see that we know are just, we don't drink the
Mhm.
Kool-Aid on that.
Yeah.
You know, a quick little story. It's almost just like that, where a father, he's at home with his daughter. He's watching the game. You know, his daughter's playing, and so he's chilling on the couch. Daughter's playing tea party. She brings him a cup of tea. It's got water in it, and
Mhm.
so the little girl brings it to him. She's like 3 or 4 years old. She's like, "Here you go, daddy." The dad drinks it. She takes the cup, brings it back, and so he's watching the game. You know, she's being good. Girl comes back with a second teacup. She goes, "Here you go, daddy." He drinks it again. And then as she walked away, he starts thinking, he's like, "Hold on."
Oh yeah, I
What-
know. I
what's-
saw that. That
Like
dude's
she's like
crazy.
3-4, she's like 3-4 years old.
Where's she
What-
getting the water?
Where's she getting this water? Where's the source? There's like every source is too high for her to get this water
Right.
from. So
Mm.
the third time she brings the cup, he doesn't drink it. He follows her back to where she's going. She goes straight into the bathroom. She's getting the water out of the toilet. This dude's drinking toilet water. And so this is the thing.
bro?
When he
Bro.
realized where the source was,
Mm.
he had the power to say, "Yo, I
Yeah.
can't do this
I
anymore.
can't do that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna drink this no more."
Right.
better
Oh
you
my
do
God.
better.
Yeah.
Yo,
When you
wow,
get
preach.
yeah, preach.
Oh my God.
Yes.
When you get that revelation of where
Right.
something is sourced from,
Yeah.
you
No
have
more toilet water.
No
Yeah.
more toilet.
you have that power. It's a paradigm shift. You have that power to change. Like
Yeah.
it changes the whole
Funny
thing.
story about toilet water. Actually, my older brother used to kind of, he's an older brother, so he can do whatever he wants. He can pick on you. You do this,
Yeah,
you do
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you do that. So when, just tired of the picking on, this is back in New Jersey. Yo, go get me some water.
Oh man.
All right. I went right to the source that the little girl went to.
Yeah. There you go.
Got him some water. He looked in there. There was a piece of something in there. So
Oh,
he didn't drink it though. He actually looked. He did his research before he, So this
Man.
little water story. For
I-
you.
But,
I
Toilet
um,
water story.
yeah.
A lot.
But that's what. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna segue into something.
He didn't
a
light you
little-
up, bro.
No, I think.
I ran. Come on, man. I'm faster than you if I'm
But,
smaller than you.
Again, some of these ways, like me, I had to check my judgment
Yeah.
because it was in
That's
me.
tough,
Yeah.
Like,
man.
Mhm.
It like I think it died the night that there was a revival. It was a youth revival at my church, and so I was in college, and I was talking to this girl who I was in the same class with. She was talking to me about her boyfriend, how he was like this, he was a sleaze bag, and he did this to me, he did that to me, and they broke up and all this stuff. She gave me all this dirt on this dude, and so whenever I would see that dude, the only thing I knew about him is the information that this girl told me.
Yeah.
That
And I remember
scoundrel.
one time I was watching, it was like a Friday night. I was getting out of work, and I remember seeing him walk by, and like we knew each other, but we didn't like ever. It was kind of like I dap him up, he dap me up, but I would dap him up and say, "Hey, how you doing?" But in my mind, I was like, "Yo, you're
Scumbag.
you're nothing." And so like that judgment was in me, like, and that came from just me observing and seeing those things. And so we had this revival, and we was in the service, and he showed up to the service, and I was like, "Yo, what's this dude doing here?"
Mhm.
And so we, our guest speaker, he did the sermon, and like at the end of the sermon, he asked if anyone wanted to like give their life to Christ. And this kid was one of the first kids to raise his hand. And I remember looking at him, and I remember like feeling like this heavy conviction, like almost like God telling me, he's like, "Yo, you see that kid? Like that's the same kid that you wrote him off like
Wow.
a couple years ago."
Wow.
And like, yo, straight tears. Like I would,
Mhm.
like I just felt like terrible because
yeah.
I wrote this kid off
Yeah.
because of this judgment that I had
Yeah.
running through me.
That's
Passed
a
down.
tough
Passed
one,
down.
I was
man.
gonna say, I
Just
mean,
passed
that is
down.
a tough one because
either way, let's say whether he did
No,
really
the
whether-
judgment thing is definitely
it-
absolutely
still
right.
right.
Oh yeah,
convicted me.
100%.
It's still it's not more about what he did with his life.
Yup.
It's more about, yo, what are you doing with the judgment that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
giving
yeah,
people?
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, okay. So I
Exactly.
guess
You know what
that's
I'm saying?
because I think if you know, because was it judgment or was it like you being angry at the fact that he was treating your friend this way?
No,
Judgment
no.
because there's
No, she
two
wasn't
sides to the story.
We was just in the same class. She like
Oh, okay.
I was
okay,
the type
okay.
of
So
like
you didn't even know.
no.
her like
I'm the
that.
type of person, like, people just tell me stuff. I don't know why they tell me stuff. You
Mhm.
know how you just have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like personality? Like this girl, I don't really know her from a hole in the wall. I would
Mhm.
see her and say, "Hey, what's up?" But we weren't like tight like that. So
Okay.
she would just tell me stuff. And so I knew it was judgment because when I would literally smile with this kid, but in my mind, I was like, "You're nothing to me."
Mhm.
Because I would have of what I knew or what
Of
this
you.
person
Person
said
said
about
of
you.
you. Yep.
It couldn't have,
Yep,
it might
yep,
not
yep.
have been even true.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It just might have been a bad relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
I feel
So that judgment
that
was in me.
yeah,
Yep.
that's just passed down judgment.
Yeah.
Because
And
I
I've-
would see it.
Yeah.
And it's
so-
that one side of the story.
Yeah. And so, it really, that instance really changed how I try to look at people. I try to be gracious to all, like give people the benefit of the doubt because you don't know what people have been through. You know what I'm saying?
So just like you said,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
same exact example that you just gave us right now
Yeah.
is how we were raised
Mhm.
in the church. Passed down judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
So
looking
now,
at people. Yeah.
when we're going to school, when we're going to work,
Mhm.
we already had this prejudgment in our system,
Mhm.
Yeah.
judging people
Mhm.
off of wearing
Appearance.
different clothes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Appearance.
earrings,
Yeah. The way
piercings,
they talk.
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle. The way they talk.
lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like
All of that.
I personally, just me personally, I knew how to separate or compartmentalize
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
Same.
Church friends,
Yeah.
social,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would act a certain
in
way
gray
with them,
area.
and
Yeah.
another way with them.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just kept it very boxy. And that's not
Mhm.
what Christ did when he came down here.
Nah,
You know what I mean?
he was
And
real.
That's living a like looking from the outside in, I was living a fraudulent lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not being myself totally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you see a guy like that that's going through a situation like
Mhm.
that, the first thing you should think in your head is like, yo, if I talk to him or have some sort of
Mhm.
relationship with that
Right.
person, maybe I'll rub off on that guy and he'll
Mhm.
change his ways.
Absolutely.
I think when it comes to, because when it comes to judgment, it's a little, I don't know, because I just don't. I typically make friends with those type of people, the street
Yeah.
cats, the
Yeah.
hustlers,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Same.
drug dealers, the
Yeah.
hitman, and this and,
Yeah, yeah.
and so forth, and you kind of see like a
Oh,
different
about to hit me,
side of
man.
them. Well,
You don't know until
You
you
know,
see your mama
Don't
do
wanna
it.
get
So
it,
good.
but
I
no,
have all
once you
types of
start to
friends,
build,
all
like you
walks of
said, right,
life.
you build a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, yo, we got mad things in common. It's
Yeah.
same exact things. It's just
Yeah.
a different type of.
Yeah.
And me personally, I know myself. when I look at somebody, I can't kind of like I know the things I've done. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a scumbag myself.
Yeah.
How
Right.
can I
Yeah.
call this person a scumbag?
Exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've been,
But
doing
it's
some-
tough when
And
you've
that-
been raised to
Yep,
judge
it is.
someone.
It definitely is.
And
It
that's I was
really
saying
is.
this,
That's
and
the
when I
tough
was
part.
speaking at this on a panel at this event recently, and that was a thing too that we're talking about so somebody says, well, how can I practice self-care by forgiving myself? And I kind of was like, well, I think the question should be, how do you forgive yourself so you can start practicing self-care?
Absolutely.
But one of the things I was saying too is
Bars.
just like, yeah,
I
right.
said, yo.
So you can start practicing self-care. And then I was thinking about that. Like, why is it so hard for people to forgive themselves? You know what I mean? Why is it so
Mm.
hard for us to forgive ourselves when I know that where I fall short,
Mhm.
other people have fall short.
Yep,
Definitely.
yep.
All fall short.
Absolutely.
My falling short looks different from your falling short.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you might fall backwards, I might fall forward.
Yeah,
yeah,
some of us
very
fall
true.
to the side, like how my
Yeah,
sister did.
Yeah.
In Spain, she
Yeah.
just fell.
Wow.
Like she just for no reason. Like she
Shout
was
out to
standing there
Baba,
1 minute
man.
and she just fell the
Wow.
next minute.
She's good?
Right. She's
She's all right.
Okay.
Her hip is a little dislocated.
I
but
was
she's all
laughing
right.
for like a whole entire day.
Wow.
But we all fall in different
Yeah.
ways and
Yeah,
for
yeah,
random
yeah.
reasons.
Word.
You know what I mean? We all
Absolutely.
fall
Yeah.
short. And I was thinking that it's because a lot of times, it's other people's convictions
Mhm.
again
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's projected on us that keeps us there. So
Yeah.
it's like it's other people's judgment
Mhm.
that's like, ooh, you fell.
Right.
Like you
Yup.
fell.
Yeah.
Yup.
Like you fell and you fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
Like, type of thing. And it's just like, well, you fell too. Yeah, but I just like tripped and like fell and I landed on my hands.
Yeah.
Like you landed on your face.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
comparison thing.
Right. And so that's where it is. So it's just like we're all
We've all fallen
we
short.
all sin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We
We've
all
all made
sin. We
mistakes.
all make mistakes.
Yeah.
None of
I
us
feel
are
like
perfect.
Sophie's about to do an altar call
Yeah.
right now,
Right.
baby.
We-
Call
yeah.
him up, baby.
We all made mistakes.
One by one. Line 'em up.
Everybody's you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
100%.
We're
this
going
is
through
what
our
it is, and I
own
think
We all
that's
fighting
what
that
it
fight.
is. Like,
Yeah.
we just need to be more honest
Yeah.
with our walk
Yeah.
and allow people to be able to ask questions and be challenged
Right.
and have those honest answers
Right.
and be human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's part of that failed leadership is that there's not enough transparency
No.
and honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And leaders just saying, yeah, I've messed up too.
Yeah.
Because that's more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't, people mess up all the time and they're out there
Mm-hmm.
doing all this crazy stuff because
Yeah.
nobody told them that, yeah, I was there where
Yeah.
you was at.
No one will
Nobody's
level with
being-
them.
Nobody
No.
will level with them.
Yeah.
But my life changed when I was able to really change in my life is when
Mm.
I was able to hear somebody that finally said, I've been where you've been at. And they
Yeah.
actually been there.
Yeah.
But my whole life, I just been around people who had never
been there.
never
We've
been there.
Yeah. We've
Supposedly,
overcome.
Yeah.
I was the only
Mhm.
person. I was the only person that did what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was shunned for it and all this other stuff. So
Yeah.
then I was just like, well, it's just me.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep going down this
Word,
road.
word.
Yeah.
But then I finally heard somebody that was just like, man, like this is what happened. I heard a leader that was just like, this is where I've been. That was real
Mm.
and honest and transparent. And I know that took a lot
Right.
to expose yourself
be
that
open.
way.
100%.
But
Yeah.
it changed my life
Most-
Forever.
Most definitely.
Which
It
is going to
changed my life.
change thousands of others'
Lives
lives
forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
instead of just saying, no, just don't do it. You can't do it. No, it's wrong.
Right.
It's just like, but why?
Yeah.
Because I've been there. I
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
And this is
It'll-
what it did to me.
It'll
and
leave you in a broken place.
And it will leave you in a broken place. And this
Yeah.
is why I don't want this to happen to you too.
We've overcome by the blood
By
of the
the
Lamb
blood.
And
and
our
the
parents.
word of our testimony.
Yes.
Our
Sir.
parents
You
too.
gotta
Our
share
parents
it.
have been
Yes,
through some
sir.
stuff
Yeah.
that they'll never tell us.
They'll never tell us. They'll
And
never
it's like
say.
if they
Word.
would have, I'm thinking about conversations that if my parents had with my brothers,
You know what I
with
used
us.
You know what I
there's
used to
certain things
believe?
that we just wouldn't have.
You know what I used to
because we
believe?
would have just been honest and be like, because I did it.
Yep,
I
yep.
I've
thought-
been there.
Yep,
I
yep.
And this
thought
is what's gonna
every
happen.
parent, I thought every Haitian, like older person that I knew, was a virgin before they got married. I thought that was
To-
just the
to this
automatic.
day- To this day, I don't believe that I came out of my mama's vagina.
But-
Because the way they're so spiritual about it, I'm like, y'all picked us up somewhere because there's no way y'all
Was
were banging and I came out your vagina. Like I just,
Bro,
I
let me
just-
tell you
there's no
something,
way.
man.
I don't believe
Yo,
it.
If
I
things were
really-
I don't believe it.
documented,
I really believe
I've never
that.
seen
Yo.
my mom and dad kiss.
yo, let me tell you
Really?
something.
I've never seen them kiss.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you
They've never
something.
kissed in
Let me
front
tell
of
you
us.
something.
My parents were affectionate.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Never kissed.
Me and my mans had me and my mans, a very close friend of mine. It's hilarious, bro. You already know.
Uh-huh.
Just having that pre judgment in your head that all these parents are
Oh, they're good.
flawless.
They're good.
And so one of my boys started doing math
Boy. Yeah.
and adding up the oldest
Mhm,
to
mhm.
how long their parents been married
Got
for.
you,
Yeah.
got you.
And
He asked a question.
he was like, this doesn't add up.
That's right.
You wasn't a virgin, B. You feel me? We need to stop talking about the
Mhm.
real
The
issue
real
at
word,
hand.
word.
Absolutely.
And that conversation did not go well.
Mm.
Conversation did not go
I
well.
bet it did.
For the mother, for the most part. The
Mhm.
father was transparent.
Yeah.
He's like, we
Met her in the
we
club.
yeah,
Yep.
She's looking good.
And
I
would
would
even-
got shot number one.
I would even go as
so that
far
little
as
hot
to,
mommy. You feel me?
I would even go as far as to say, and this is on both sides. I'm not talking about just women, but men too. But you like the things that you hear, like the little sharp little things that you hear, like older people say about a certain other person,
Mhm.
like how they used to be running the streets and getting
Yeah.
it in,
Yeah.
and you're like, who, her or
Yeah.
him? Like he
Mhm.
was doing all that,
Yeah.
and man,
Yeah. But you know
they
what?
hide it well.
You know what? The people that have gone through
Mm-hmm.
the people that have gone through those moments or
Yeah.
whatever, like the ones that actually like
Uh-huh.
like the cool
The cool ones.
the cool ones,
Yeah, that are
you feel
relatable.
me? Like you have conversations with them, you're like, yo, I know they've been through some stuff, but they
Most
don't say
definitely.
nothing.
No, they don't.
They don't say nothing at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's the problem. It's like there's certain like the parents, just like you said, the parents will be like, oh, she used to go through some things back in the day.
Right.
Like,
Man, listen.
you know what I mean?
Anytime I get a chance, honestly, just because of how the older generation was and pretty much the next generation, it seemed like they just skipped the gap, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just be talking about all of my former scumbaggeries. Because I like it's like what else is gonna that's what attracts them.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you're a cool dude. And so I start talking about what I used to do. And yo, how did you they always ask, how'd you change?
Yeah.
You're in an environment with a lot of women and this and that.
Yeah.
How you not?
Yeah.
This is exactly why. This is what I've been through, and
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing now. And
Yeah.
honestly, just it's a testimony. That's
Yeah.
exactly
Most
what it
definitely.
is. You ain't
Most
gotta
definitely.
keep, you don't gotta preach and you don't gotta snatch them in by that, but it's just gonna it's
Yeah.
gonna turn to it because that's the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
It's I don't know how this would connect to anything, but I heard a story of someone I know out of state, but his parents are pastors, and he's a musician, and so there was going to be this big service that he was supposed to play at, but his senior prom was on the same night, and so all week he's telling us like, yo, I want to go. This is my senior prom. Like these are my people. Like I want to go with them, and so.
Word.
They argued and they won. They were like, no, you're going to this service. You're going to play. And so he ended up sneaking off and going to the
Praise
prom.
God.
Shout out to him.
Had a
bro.
most
Right.
definitely had a dope time. Came back, and when he came back, like parents were rashing on him, like, how could you do that? Yelling at him, like, how could you do that? Like you left your family just to be with a bunch of people, and then
Hold on, he came back to the church?
well, no, when he came back home.
Oh, okay. I'm like, dang.
And when-
he
when
didn't
sh-
stay at senior
when-
prom at all.
And when the mom said, how could you leave your family to go hang out? He was like, family? What you mean family?
Wow.
He was like, those people that I went with, those are my family. They know the real me. They know the real me. They're the ones I talk to about stuff I'm going through.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know nothing about what I'm
Wow.
dealing with. And like when
That hit him hard.
when he rashed like that, like it like made him take
Yeah.
a step back. They were
Yeah.
like shocked
Got
Yeah.
you.
because like
you think you know, but you don't.
yeah,
Mhm.
everything like they thought that they were raising them well and
Mm.
making them do this and making them hitting all their points. Maybe so you go to church, you do this, you do that. When he wasn't really, and he loved music, but it just became such an obligation and a job,
A job, yeah.
And it just wears you, it wears away at you,
Definitely
you know.
does.
And I found that like I loved, there are people I loved being around more than church, but like worldly friends, quote
You
unquote,
could say, yeah.
more than church friends, because sometimes like when I was coming up and I was talking to girls, I found that and this is not their fault, but I found that girls who weren't really churchy, they were more real with you,
Mhm.
and the churchy girls will like give
No,
you this,
thank you. No, thank you.
yeah, like gave you this facade,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah.
not to their own fault, but dealing with their own situations. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Covering it up.
Because they've been taught to cut.
Yeah,
They had to hide.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying? And so it's taught me so much. Being hitting this point right now, being where I am, like it's the scope of where we're going and what we're doing, especially with this podcast and
Yeah.
things that the things that are on the horizon to
Yeah.
come. This our younger generation, the second generation, is on the come up.
Word,
For sure.
word.
We're making a huge comeback. We're voicing our childhood traumas,
Mhm.
situations,
Yeah.
things that we dealt with.
Mm,
Yep.
We're definitely on the come up.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Big
I
facts.
agree. I agree.
That being said, ladies and gentlemen,
We need a part 2 to this.
we definitely have
a
a
part
part
two.
two.
Definitely.
There's much more to come.
Yeah.
Stay
Much more to
tuned, baby.
unpack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
This is Beyond the Walls.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for listening.
God bless you. Good night.
Benediction.
Yeah.
Buenas noches.